Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. My name is Layla McGwee. I'm with the Natural Areas Conservancy. And
I'm Christy King. I'm actually with New York City Parks, the city agency that partners with the Natural Areas Conservancy.
So Natural Areas Conservancy is a nonprofit. We were started in 2012, and our mission is to, with partnering with the Parks Department, conserve and restore all the green and blue spaces, all the natural areas in parks in New York City. So Christy and I have been working very closely to make this map, and it's really exciting to be able to show it to so many people. So thank you for coming. We kind of thought to create a map. Our goal was to show the extent and condition of New York City's nature to all New Yorkers and anyone that's interested. And we went through a lot of steps that we'll kind of tell you about tonight, and then we have an activity for everyone to allow everyone to kind of play around in the map and answer some questions. So just to give you a scope of what this map entails, it shows you the extent of the different types of natural areas that we have. So our forests, our salt marshes, our freshwater wetlands, and our streams across all the 5 boroughs of New York City. It gives you a summary of the condition of how these areas are doing right now, and details about all the restoration and conservation work that's happening in those areas. And then it has links in other types of places that you can connect to our partners or people that are doing things within these areas. So we used a lot. The Natural Resources Group at Parks has 30 years of data on these areas as the stewards that have been working and caring for these areas. So a lot of different types of data sets went into creating this. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to nerd out a little bit and talk about the different data
Which I
sets.
think this is the perfect crowd for.
Yeah, so we, like Layla said, we've been collecting a lot of data about the location, condition, extent, and the work that we're doing in our natural areas for quite a long time. And thanks to our partnership with the Natural Areas Conservancy, we now understand how they're doing, and that's the information we're really excited to push out to the public. It's almost like it could be a call to action. So this is just a list of some of our data sources that went into the map, but to go into a little more detail, we want to serve this data up to people on multiple spatial scales and with different query possibilities. So you can look at all the natural areas in a specific borough and see aggregated information about how they're doing, where they are, and what's going on there. Same with individual council districts, which could be really interesting from an advocacy perspective, and then individual parks, your local park, a park you're visiting next weekend, a park you heard your friend talk about. You can look at what's going on in that park. And then this is behind the scenes. When we started making this map, we came to the table with so much data between our 2 organizations, and our consultant that was building the product was like, whoa, this is too much. And so we worked to really streamline and pare down what we served up to people, because we want it to be legible and exciting, but not overwhelming. But just to give you an idea into the level of detail that went into this map and what's behind it. For our forests alone, showing how much forest acreage we have in different areas required the creation, Crystal here helmed this work, the creation of a unique data set that blended multiple different projects into a single shapefile that we showed on this map that spanned all property types. This didn't exist before, and now we have this unique data set of our forest locations. Showing common species list, it's so simple. It's oh, these are the top 5 species, but actually we're looking looking at data sets about multiple structural layers of the forest and pulling from each to give you guys a picture into what's going on at all levels. Like the forest isn't just the trees, you know?
And that data came from one of the first projects that the Natural Areas Conservancy did to do an ecological assessment throughout all of our forests and get a lot of detailed information on each of these areas that, you know, we've had for a couple of years, and it's really exciting for us to be able to share it with the public.
Yeah, and for the record, we've been using it for management since it was collected, but now to display it for the public was like a really exciting next phase. We tell everyone about vegetation communities, and those are kind of standardized to the way that those are thought about across the whole country. So we can now compare the natural areas of New York City to vegetation communities across our country. And then one thing that's near and dear to my heart is our database of management activities. We have been recording every day's efforts of our field staff in New York City's natural areas since 2007. We have unique spatial data that shows what was done, who was there, what they did, and we aggregated that also for this map. And then for salt marshes too, there's like a lot, again, so much, like years of data collection and work went into this, both from the Natural Areas Conservancy and parks, but just a couple of unique facts is we're showing information about marsh loss since 1974. New York City has lost so much of its salt marsh just for development, filling, and so we're, that was like a separate project using aerial photography from then and now, and in combination with field work to like show where those marshes were lost. And now we're aggregating that data up to areas of interest and showing people where we've lost wetlands. And then same, we're looking, one of the like most new thoughts about salt marshes is that they're really in transition. You know, sea level rise is threatening our coastal environments, just more water, you know, is drowning the plants that live there. And so looking not only at the areas of low marsh that are at risk of sea level rise, but where marshes could potentially migrate inland. This was a totally separate, really complicated analysis using a model that then is feeding into this product. Yeah, you can go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm done. And then for freshwater wetlands, this was yet again another effort looking at we made a unique map using remotely sensed imagery and LiDAR returns, and now our field verifying that. And so this is actually a work in progress. Like, we're continuing to improve the locations of our freshwater wetlands on this map. And then there's a condition assessment that draws on, again, so many hours of field work and literally like scientists out in the field looking for rare dragonflies and other insects that are like, show you that a wetland is healthy. And then for streams, we are, this is a more recent project that we're really excited to include in this map, and we're looking at stream condition across New York City streams. Talk about salt marsh loss, our streams have really been lost over the years. I mean, that's one of the biggest losses since like pre-colonial times. But now, so we can show you stream loss. We talk about where streams have been lost, how much has been lost, and it references historical data developed by the Wildlife Conservation Society under Eric Sanderson's work. And we're really excited to aggregate that here. And then we also, through the Streams project, kind of again behind the scenes, we found that 1 mile of streams have been filled more recently in the past 25 years. So again, just a lot of rich analysis and inquiry is behind this public-facing product.
For visualizing the data, we used with our developer, this company based in Seattle called Critigen. We went through a lot of iterations trying to figure out what's the best way to show this data and how to visualize it. So the thing that we used most was a JavaScript called D3 that we used models from that. We kind of gave them what we thought this should look like, and they plugged it in, did what they did behind the scenes.
Yeah, but like D3 is cool because it's publicly available. It's like a open source like data visualization library, and it's used by many reputable publications like the New York Times and et cetera. And so it's cool to like speak on that level playing field with this sort of data visualization, and we were really excited that our consultant wanted to go there. Yeah.
And the funding also for this project came from many different sources: the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, New York Community Trust, Idelson Foundation, and Altman Foundation.
So I understand that this is meant to be like a query-based sort of interface, but is this data set that you've stitched together, is it also going to be available for other uses, like analytic purposes and research and that kind of thing? The underlying data?
Almost all of the New York City owned data sets are already on New York City Open Data, so there's a lot up there now.
But for the data that the Natural Areas Conservancy has, we don't have it on open data, but we are open to collaborating with scientists and other researchers and schools, and we have a data policy that all the information to who to contact is on our website. You can contact us, and we have shared the data for many different reasons in the past.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you guys speak to how you would like the public to be able to use this and what like the ideal use cases are?
It's a great question. I think that was one of the really hard questions that we got from our developer. It was like, who is the audience? And we wanted it to be everyone in New York City that cares about anything that's green, and the politicians, and anyone that can make a decision, and anyone that's not interested that can look at this and become interested. So everyone.
But we did
narrow down.
Yeah. What would you say we landed on?
I think we landed on, still, I think someone needs to be interested enough to end up on, because it's hosted on our website, to end up there and look at it. I think there's a lot of different layers of complicated data clicking through different tabs. So I think to be able to get into that depth, you would have to have a certain amount of interest. But then also on the, the city council part of it, we really hope that this is something that is used by politicians or the general public that want to speak to their politicians about their specific natural areas or, the condition of them.
Yeah, there's a thread you could follow. It's like, oh, Marine Park, I heard about that once. What is it? And then you go look at the website and it's like, oh, this area seems to be in moderate condition. Maybe I should go check it out or do something. And then we have a link to get involved, and maybe there's a stewardship event at the park. And so that's kind of one ideal scenario, I think. It's just to get people more involved and reacting to what they see in direct actions.
And to get involved more with us and the Parks Department and anyone that's really doing that direct action. There's all these links to events.
In developing this map, did you have the opportunity to collaborate with other organizations who are also trying to map out New York City and maybe underutilized or natural spaces like 596 acres or anything like that?
We didn't. I think we started with so much of our own data that it was a little overwhelming to think about what else we could pull in, to be honest.
Yeah, and really it was, we were so deep down into, both of us wanted to show so much more than what is there already, and had so many meetings of trying to figure out what's still interesting but not too overwhelming for everyone.
Yeah, we were dropping stuff, not adding stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting to have divided it by city council district. Has it been a helpful tool for advocacy? Are the council members listening to this, and what can they do to kind of promote your work?
Well, it just came out last month, or 2 months ago in June, so we haven't had any advocacy around it yet, but we're hoping that is the case. Yeah.
This feels like the launch, to be honest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is the first time that we're showing it, which I kind of want to pull it up.
Yeah, there was an article in Curbed website that you guys may have seen, but other than that, we haven't really gone public with it yet, and so this is really exciting.
Another question.
Oh yeah, please.
Have projects like this been happening in other cities? Where does this kind of fit within kind of a urban map?
Conservation?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel our developer showed us some examples of things that we were wow, Oh, this is really cool.
I think the Nature Conservancy has some maps that are kind of about nature in different places, and
I feel like there was something from...
there's the New York City street tree map that's kind of the equivalent of this, but for individual street trees. And London has a very extensive street tree map, but in
Seattle has like some natural areas, stewardship, mapping engagement around that.
Most of the things that we saw also had the component that you could, interact with in a way that you could enter what you're doing, similar to the street tree map. But this map doesn't have that function yet.
I mean, maybe
maybe it will.
Yeah, if there's a demand for that, we'd love it. There's a couple more.
Is easy to visit that kind of places in New York for everybody, or is...
That's a great question. So a lot of our natural areas are accessible by public transit, and I think that's something that we brag about all the time.
That's my ask thing, so if you want to talk about that, I think we'd love to,
On the ground, I mean on the ground. No access.
Oh, no, yeah, there's lots of access. We have hiking trails throughout our parks. Those aren't highlighted on this map. This is more about like kind of ecological data, but there is on the New York City Parks website there's lots of hiking maps available, and we're always adding more. Like we're always formalizing new trails and trying to get people out. So yeah, definitely these spaces are accessible to you. I'd say the few that aren't are like islands or things that just aren't really physically accessible to even us, to be honest.
There was one more.
Yeah, you guys talked about cutting out data because you have so much. Maybe this is a question for both of you. What was something that was interesting to you guys that, whether it made the cut or not?
Oh my God, everything, all the conditions, all the details that went into condition
to me, the level of detail about the work that we've done, I was excited to show that on a fine scale. Like we worked here, like literally showing where our projects are, but we're not doing that. It's only aggregated to the park level. So showing within park data, I think is like probably our biggest, we were kind of told that nobody's gonna look like deep within a single park at like small areas like the east side versus the west side, that it was really just about just the park in general. But yeah, because if you see, that's a screenshot I could have put in the presentation. We literally have an individual polygon for every crew every day.
Which looks like a spaghetti.
Yeah, it looks like a crazy web, but all those polygons stack up to equal like care and stewardship, So showing people where we focused and maybe even like associating that with a certain condition. Like I was really excited about that, but so that's the thing I wish that's the thing I'm saddest about, I guess. But it's still an awesome product. And more information than we've ever given before. So this is a great place to start.
And I think for me, it's the on-the-ground field data that we've collected through these years, all the ecological assessment. We show the common species, we show the general condition, but we don't go into the details of how many inches of coarse woody debris did we find in this area, or how many inches of leaf litter, or how many seedlings did we find in this particular area. So we have a lot of information like that it's all aggregated together into one condition or one general work type, but it's not, all that detail is kind of gone. Cool, so should we just look at it real quick?
What's a like park or area we should zoom into? Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is what happens when you open the map. It gives you a little bit of information, and you can select an area. So on a city level, borough level, council district, or park. And in the park, you can search. So Pelham Bay Park. And here's our beautiful Pelham Bay Park.
Yeah, so we have what we have, how it's doing, and what we're doing. These are like the 3 navigational tabs for whatever geography you're on. So what we have shows like a breakdown of the park, what's in it, and then you can tab through each of the resource types here and see how many acres of each are in the park.
and then kind of other
Yeah,
types
there's
of
some
information
explanation, yeah.
in them, and how many people live within a 10-minute walk in that area. Then our how it's doing is our kind of condition data. It shows you, and I don't know if you can see in the back, the different colors are kind of corresponding with the chart.
Condition, yeah, maybe show
Condition.
forest just because that's what has the most.
Right.
So you can see here we have like a heat map of forest condition across the park, as well as a breakdown of the different categories. And then we like go a little bit deeper about like what that all means, like what's the native and invasive species ratios for each canopy layer of the forest, and then what are the threats in this forest or the impacts. So we talk about trash, herbivory, and forest regeneration, or the lack of forest regeneration really is the threat.
So that is one of the data points that we collected, was that how many seedlings are kind of growing in an area or not, and how many acres are
Have
getting
any trash or
damaged
litter on
by
them, yeah.
deer.
Yeah.
So is it also possible to search not just by the park, but like most critical area or most endangered area?
No.
No, actually, that's a really good question.
But on a city level, I think you could kind of zoom in and out.
Yeah,
and
when you zoom
see.
out to the whole city, you can see the areas of poor condition or good condition, and then zoom in using the map interface from there.
So, and then the last tab is our what we're doing, and that in this case it's mostly the Parks Department.
So all this is telling you is that we have worked in the park, but it does say, this part is really interesting. This was a custom data visualization. We're showing the entirety of the forest in green, and then how many acres we've managed or kind of touched or improved since 2007, and then how many acres we managed last year. So this kind of shows our scale, or the ability to which we can manage this land.